Second goal, and this is a big one. This is the goal that will set me up for success this year, and it's very simple. Hello everyone, my name is Holly and Happy New Year. It's the start of the 2024 year, and my god, am I getting old. I actually saw a thing recently that said we're closer to 2050 than we are to 1994, and I've never been more salted in my life. So it's only fitting to talk you through a few books I plan to read in January. Now, I'm not doing a big TBR. It's actually really tiny. I'm talking like 2 or 3 books because I don't want to start my year by locking myself into a strict TBR. It's funny because where I used to be super motivated by TBRs, they kind of take the fun out of it a little bit for me nowadays. I don't know, I go back and forth on them, to be honest, so it only makes sense to me to just make a small one for now, get a little taste on how my reading might go this year, hopefully better than 2023, because that was a dumpster fire, and then plan accordingly from there. Maybe I'll have a massive February TBR, I don't know, subscribe to find out. I'm also going to talk about some of my reading goals this year. I've said in the past, I'm not much of a goal-oriented person. Goals don't really do a whole lot for me, I feel like, but I think I've come up with some that are going to really work for me, and maybe that'll inspire you as well. So what do I do first? Do I show you my January TBR or do I talk about my goals? You know what? Let's start off with my current read, so my January TBR, and that is The Slain Divine. So I actually started this toward the end of December, and I have been taking my time with it because I wanted it to count toward my 2024 reading year. Call me a cheater all you want. I call it big brain. The reason for that is because I have this accidental tradition where the first book that I finish every year is a 5-star read, and it never ceases to fail. It happens every single time for the past like 5 years. So David, the pressure is on. If this isn't a 5-star read, you have broken my beautiful tradition, and I'll never forgive you. This is the third and final book in the Vagrant Gods trilogy, and it's been one hell of a ride so far. Dalglish knows how to end a series, that's for sure. It's just been one battle after another. It's been super emotional. I love these characters so much. I'm about maybe 75% of the way done with it, and it's been so good. I can't talk a whole lot about it yet, but I will. Don't January wrap up, people. Be there or be square. So say I want to savor The Slain Divine even longer because it is an ending to a great series that I don't want to end. I had Darren choose my other possible first read of the year because I was struggling to choose. I actually might do like a unhaul and organize my shelves with me video because it is a disaster zone behind me. But anyways, I thought it'd be more fun this way. Make things spicy and take all the pressure off me and all on him. That's how a 15-year relationship works, right? Well, after choosing a few books I had already read, he eventually got to Notorious Sorcerer, which was perfect because I have a video coming out soon talking about series I want to start this year, and this is one of them. I'm already checking it off my list. This is a fantasy all about characters who are alchemists, and a group of them are able to open up different planes of reality or existence, I don't know, to search for rare materials, and our main character brings back something very dangerous that puts the whole city in danger. I think it sounds really cool, and the sequel just came out, which I have, so if I enjoy it, maybe I can just pick that up next. And the final for sure read this month is The City of Stardust, which comes out in January, actually, January 30th, I believe. So I want to get my review out for it soon. Yet another adult fantasy. Actually, all of these books are published by Orbit, which doesn't surprise me one bit. It probably shouldn't surprise you. For those of you who have been watching me for a while, I am a Orbit book slut, to say it lightly. That's definitely going to be a trend for me this year, as it always is. This is about an entire generational family that is cursed, where each generation a family member is taken by a woman as payment owed to her. And our main character, Violet, who's a part of this family, is determined in some way to break this curse. I'm really excited about it. It's definitely one of the more hyped books for January. I know a few of you who said that you were going to read it, and I hope that we all love it. All right, so that is my very tiny but manageable January TBR. Now let's move on to my reading goals. So first off, once it struck midnight, I did set a Goodreads reading goal. You can add me as a friend, by the way. I'll link that down below for you in the description box. And I went into it with a certain number in mind, but then I changed it to last second. I was just going to put one book because I don't want any more pressure than I already have when it comes to reading, especially when you have a platform like this. It can be very stressful. But then I felt inspired and felt like I needed to redeem myself from last year. So I marked it as 25 books, which isn't a lot. I used to smash 70 books a year easily. I don't want the pressure. My back is brittle already. It doesn't need any more weight on it. So 25 books it is for 2024. Very easy, maybe, and manageable, hopefully. Second goal, and this is a big one. This is the goal that will set me up for success this year, and it's very simple. I'm making it a goal to read at least one page a day, because if I can just do that, I'll probably read 20 more. If I want to stop after that, cool, I've hit my goal, or I can keep going. I find it's the inertia of just sitting down to read being the issue for me. Once I start, like 95% of the time, I'll get wrapped up in the book. So just one single page. Sit down and read one page. That's the goal. It gets me to start the task, which is the hardest part for me. But once I start, I'll probably read all day, and I'll find myself stopping to read and reading even more later. One page, sit down, read that one page. That's the goal. The next goal, that is definitely the hardest, is to try to replace scrolling through my phone with reading. And maybe this is a habit that will become easier in later months. I way too often find myself spending ridiculous amounts of time just scrolling through shorts. Short form content is so freaking dangerous when I could be reading. And I know this stems from boredom. When I'm bored, I either want to eat or I scroll through my phone. I'm not saying like completely replace those with reading, but at least make it more often that I pick up a book instead. I feel like everyone strives for this goal all throughout the year, and it kind of just feels like a pointless effort because we're all addicted to social media at this point. Not to be pessimistic, but when you have like the world at your fingertips, it's so hard not to want to look at it. It could even just simply be a before bed thing. I absolutely scroll through YouTube shorts or Instagram reels before going to bed, and I need to stop, so I want to switch it out for my Kindle. It's similar to my phone, but it doesn't have any social media on it. It's strictly for reading. So I'll be reading about dragons and wizards and not looking at memes. And the final goal I think that I want to focus on is to stop overthinking book reviews, which majorly held me back last year and is why I barely reviewed anything. I felt like I had to write this insanely complex review for every book that I read and be able to compare it to something else or like be super smart about it, when I'm sure that this book was amazing and exploded my brain. 5 out of 5 stars is a perfectly reasonable review that you guys will find helpful. So simplistic reviews that just get the point across that I loved it or hate it or it was okay. Simple enough. So that's going to be it for today's video. Of course, I'm sure I'll read more than 3 books this month, especially if I implement these goals, but I don't know what those books are going to be. There's one I do have in mind that is probably going to be the 4th book, but I'm not going to mention it here just in case I change my mind. Totally going to mood read. So tell me in the comments what you're going to read this month, and also tell me a goal or 2 that you have for this year. And how many books do you want to read? I would love to know. Like this video, it really helps me out. Subscribe if you're not. I'd love to have you here. I hope you have a wonderful beginning to the year, and until we meet again, happy reading.